where the fishes hang out, the pike and the perch, the salmon and trout. When I'm around, you better watch out. Here I come, here I come, here I come. Go fishing by yourself, go fishing. No one else, go fishing on your own, just you and them. Go fishing by yourself, go fishing. No one else, 'cause you wanna catch a big one, you mean you catch a big one, but even quite a small one could be quite a lot of fun.
Well, you couldn't get more basic than this. I just found these two laddies sat on this jetty side here starting to set up to go fishing. And I thought it'd be nice to have a look and see what the gear was like. You've never fished before, have you? No. What's your name?
Mario.
Mario. Never fished either, Mario?
No, never.
Bring your gear over, let's have a look what you got. He's got a little solid fiberglass light rod, a little center pin reel. He's got a little box here with some hooks in it. No, wait, that's your late shot. He's got a little weight, and what he's going to do is he's going to attach his little weight to a hook. He's going to put one of these maggots on. He's got a few maggots here, and that's all you need to go fishing, nothing else. We'll make it a bit more complicated in these programs, but that's the basic necessities to fish. Well done, I hope you become terrific fishermen. Well, my favourite form of coarse fishing is on a river. And I couldn't have come to a better stretch than this part of the Severn near Bewdley in Worcestershire. I've come to meet Ken Giles and a couple of his mates who are famous local anglers. They're fishing down there. They're trying to catch barbel, chub, dace, and I'm going to go down and see how they're getting on, because I think they might have got one or two for us by now. Morning, Ken.
Morning, Jack. How are you?
River looks well.
Oh, it's a lovely looking river, isn't it? It's beautiful. We've got an upstream wind, everything's perfect.
What are you doing? What are you fishing at the moment?
I'm fishing a waggler at the moment. You know, you can see a fast shallow out there. And with the sun on the water, it looks absolutely perfect.
What are you catching? Have you got anything yet?
Yes, I've got about 5 or 6 pounder chub, 2 or 3 dice, and a few gudgeons. But the chub are in good condition, they really are perfect.
You've not got any barbel yet? We want
no, not a barbel. The elusive barbel they are.
Because we want to catch them.
Because,
we're not catching any today.
That's right.
We will eventually.
No, we'll catch.
What are the basic methods fishing this river then, Ken?
The 3. I would suggest the swim feeder, the stick float, and the waggler. And that's the waggler. What it is, I use a piece of peacock quill with an insert in the top, right? And then a piece of rubber here, which is some adapter that we use so that we can change the floats easy, and lead under the float. The stick float, in actual fact, as you know, the waggler is attached to the bottom ring only. The stick float is attached to the top and bottom, and the swim feeder, in actual fact, it's a container, which we'll show in a moment, where you put the maggots in and cast it out, and it's right on the bed of the river, and the fish take it
That's
from
why
there.
you would use a swing tip?
No, we wouldn't use a swing tip. The reason is that the swing tip on this river would be permanently up, because you've got a permanent flow through this. It's not a soft river, a slow river. It's a permanent current.
So swing tipping really is for still water?
Yeah, that's right. Rivers like the Fens and the Nene and the Welland, on those slow, placid rivers. And plus still waters, of course, as you mentioned. But the waggler, in this instance, is a fair tool. It's a nice, competent method to use. And the stick float tends to be what I tend to do is use the stick float from the side to about a third across the river, and then from a third across the river across, use the waggler. The reason is you can cast the waggler far easier and there are less tangles altogether. So.
Your line lies in the water with a waggler, but with a stick float, you would really like to fish it Or the way I was taught anyway, that you would fish it with your line direct to the top of your float.
That's right.
That's why you only fish the first third.
That's right.
Third.
That's right.
Well, your equipment looks pretty simple. Would a beginner start with anything like this? Would this be...
Oh, yeah, it's pretty simple, really. It's, what I've got, in actual fact, is a carbon fibre rod. Normal glass would be quite sufficient. But on a real moving water, as you can see, you're pretty active. You know, you're moving about all the time. It isn't one of these jobs where you cast in and leave it. You know, I'm casting in, moving all the time. So what you want, in actual fact, is something like a 12-foot rod, a reasonably light 12-foot rod. And the choice of reel, of course, is entirely to the individual, but I've got an open-faced reel. And it's obviously open-faced because you can see the line comes off that way. And it's quite easy to cast. And that's the bail arm, and that's when the bail arm is down. And what you do is, in actual fact, is cast. You put the bail arm over, and then you drop your finger on there and cast from there. And then when you trot down, you keep dropping your finger onto that there to stop the line going. And when you strike against your finger and knock the bail arm over, and you can reel back. Now, that is an open-face reel.
So you came down this morning, Ken. How did you set about setting your piece of river up to fish it?
Well, some of it is basic knowledge. What you do is look for a reasonably nice piece of water, preferably, since it's on the 7, that you'd want a nice fast glide, something around about 3-4 foot deep, which would be very nice because, as you can see, the sun's out, so we want a little bit of ripple on the water. And then from there, I decided I would have a go at the waggler, looking for the fastest part of the river and put the waggler through it. The basic, what I do as far as feed pattern and feeding on the 7 is very, very important. I would suggest that's probably the be-all and end-all of everything.
Do you ground break at all here?
No, not on this fast, shallow ones, no. Down the lower 7, when it begins to get deeper, yes. But up the top of the 7 on this, it tends to be a loose feeding method. What I do, in actual fact, on the loose method, is cast out first, drop the rod on the rest, put some casters in a catapult.
You said the catapult on a river.
Yeah.
Where's it differ between a river and a still water?
That's the catapult I'm using at the moment, you see. And what it is, you can put your casters in there. It's got air holes, so that in actual fact, it increases the line velocity. You can get it out quicker, and you can shoot it with no problems at all. And in actual fact, what I've done is plug the end so that if it drops in the water, in actual fact, it floats, so you can pick it up. There's a couple of things that you need as basic equipment. One, you want a rod rest, because you want to drop your rod on it. And the next, you want the rod rest not pointing really into the water, you want it roughly out of the water, so that when you drop your rod on it, right, it's there, but the line is actually going out that way. It's not drooping in the water or very near the water. So that if the float goes out there, you strike and you've picked up all the slack that's here, you know, quite easily.
So you're straight into the air?
That's right.
I'm just looking at your float. Compared to still water fishing, you're sitting at very, very high in the water.
Yeah, well, what it is, you see, you've got a shallow piece over there, and with a lot of whirligigs and sucking motions of the water rippling along, you see, it sucks the float under. And if you sit it very near the surface, with the movement of the water underneath, it gets sucked under and you're striking at false bites. They're not bites at all.
That was a bite.
That was a bite. You don't want to be striking at false bites that aren't really there at all. Look at the lights on him. The lights there. See him? Turn it over. See him there? And that's a chub, that one. A small chub. Anyway, so it's dead easy to take the hook out when you're using barbless, isn't it? Anyway,
Are you fishing barbless?
Yeah.
That's why you're missing them.
No, rubbish. Rubbish.
Fishing downstream like this, I should imagine, is a bit more awkward to catch because you're pulling the bait virtually out of the fish's mouth, aren't you? Swimming upstream.
Well, no, not really, because what you've got, you see, you've got an upstream wind here. In actual fact, when you put the float out there, it sits perfect there. And remember now, these fish, you know, we're on a shallow, so these fish are permanently fighting the conditions. So they're looking for bait, you know, they're chasing the bait, they're moving out for it. It's not like still water where you've got to present it bang on. Here, they're actually moving to the bait.
You're fishing casters, I notice you've put 2 on there.
That was a bite as well. Yeah. Well, what the idea of two
We'll have a
is, you
quick
see,
look at you putting them on there. I'd like to see the way you do that, because
Yeah.
you notice you put one on,
yeah,
you put them on upside down,
that's
one
right.
upside
What
down.
you do in actual fact, I'll put two on for you. Right, what I'm doing in actual fact is using two casters. I've got a 16 fine wire barber's hook. What I put is one on the blunt end and thread it up the shank. Right, just like that. Then the other one through the narrow end, and I clip it on there like that. The reason is it stops line twist. I'll do it again so that everybody's happy. One with the blunt end up, and then the other one the other way with the point on the hook, just like that. There's a perfect float presentation.
What about the river, Ken? It's pretty much a Birmingham river, this now, isn't it?
It is. It's a lovely river, though. Let's face it, the Severn, it's absolutely a cracker, as we'll say.
Well, I think you get every variety of fish up the Severn. You get trout, you get dace, you get perch, you get roach. In fact, every coarse fish known probably you'll catch in this river.
Yeah, it's a good assortment. It's a good assortment river. It's a good river that has a good population of all sort of fish. Because the new species, of course, it's not natural to the river, of course, is the one that you mentioned before.
The barbel, yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to catch them, because they were introduced here about, what, 20 years ago?
That's right.
And they've thrived, and now it's one of the best barbel rivers in the country.
That's right. And they're all from the original stock. All from the original stock of barbel.
The original stock of barbel was introduced into the river by the Angling Times in 1956. 509 barbel weighing up to 9 pounds from the River Kennet in Berkshire. They've bred so fast that in some areas they are now the dominant species. Let's have a little look at your equipment then, Ken, see what you've got.
By all means. Well, basically, you've got something like a full rundown. It's something like, first of all, you want a creel to put it all in. That's a box.
Also to sit on occasionally.
That's right. They used to use wicker work, but they've gone out now. They're all in, modern fiberglass. Then you want something like a small box, preferably lined or something like that, with different compartments, where you keep your shots and your hooks and a few odds and ends and scissors and disgorgers, anything that you want to use while you're fishing, a match or pleasure fishing or anything. But it's very basic, that is. It's no problems at all.
It's all there and it's all handy to use.
That's right. And then you've got something like your float box. Now,
it isn't necessary to have this many floats, by the way.
No, it isn't, but it's what you accumulate through the years. You've got something like a float box that, you've got things like that. Yeah, by all means. That's a general selection of the stick floats that I use. What I tend to use is the orange ones for reasonably coloured waters. And then on the bottom line, I keep the dark black top floats. But they're basically two stick floats, black stick floats and the normal standard orange stick floats. And when you go underneath, you've got the wagglers. Mind your fingers. I'll do it for you. What you've got there, in actual fact, is the wagglers, which is that one. So you've got the same, and we've just been talking about the waggler, what I've used, and those are the choice that you have, you see. And you've got orange tip for when the water's like this, when it's, it's peculiar, is what we call shiny water.
White water.
White water, and we use an orange tip. And then in actual fact, I know it sounds funny, on the darker water, you tend to use a darker float with hardly any bankside herbage or trees overhanging. The black floats are far better, they show up dead easy. But when you've got a lot of cover, like herbage, grass, trees, the orange floats, they show up. Yeah. And those are just plain straightforward straight wagglers. And then the other ones, what we call bodied wagglers, which are, that type of thing. And what it is you can see the body on the waggler in actual fact, and some of them are loaded. And these tend to be used more on fen waters or slow still waters, because the load in the float itself doesn't cause so much tangles with it being actually in the float itself. And as you can see, there's the body and the load of the lead wire is either there, or in certain cases there's brass inserts in there. But those in actual fact are bodied wagglers. Now the
loaded means they've got extra weight in them.
That's it, in the float. But you wouldn't use them here because the movement of the water would suck the float under, you see. They're all normally used on very still water or water that's hardly moving at all. But basically, these are all all the things that over a period of time you'd accumulate. But most floats will do the job, stick float, waggler fishing, and, you know, that...
So you could do it with one of each type?
Oh, yes, definitely.
For the beginner?
That's right. For the beginner, one of each type with no problems at all.
Let's have a look at your maggots, Kane, because you've got only one colour this morning, bronze.
Bronze, that's right. Well, they're all in vogue at the moment. That's the thing that's catching the fish all over the country. That's the first stage in their life, and that's the maggot, and then you go on to the casters. On a few of the reservoirs, you know, they use coloured maggots, like you breed your own gozzers and different colours, whites and pinks, etc.
But here you don't.
But here on this moving water, on this rough water, those are the ones, bronze maggots.
The River Severn enjoys a rightful claim to be perhaps the best mixed coarse and game river in Britain. Nearly every species that swims, including the salmon, can be caught from its 220 miles. We were fishing just downstream from Bewdley on Birmingham Angling Association water. If you bring the family, there's plenty for them to do, including the Severn Valley Railway. Just come and see you, Clive, while Tony's setting up the swim feed, because you've been swim feeding for a bit for us. No luck yet?
No, not at all yet, no. No. It's well known for it on this river, this method, you know, it usually catches a lot of barbel.
You're not too happy with it, you, though?
I don't like it at all now. I think it's done a lot of harm in the match fishing world around here. Pleasure fishing as well. It's littered a lot of swims.
What do you mean littered a lot?
Well, the line you have to use with it is that much more substantial than what you would for float fishing. And when you do get a breakage, which you do, it leaves a lot of thick line out in the current and spoils the rundown for the float anglers.
Plus the fact that someone mentioned in match fishing with this method, you can catch a lot of the bigger fish, bigger barbel.
You can, yeah. They do fall for it. They're really suicidal. See what you're doing away with. In angling, as you know, the art is feeding and casting to that feed and being reasonably accurate. Well, with the swim feeder, it's all done for you. You just put it in the feeder and you can cast anywhere, and obviously the hook is very close to the feeder.
Could you explain the swim feeder method to us exactly?
Shall I pull it out and
yeah,
show
pull
you?
it out and set it up and let us have a look. Because I saw you casting before and I noticed that it's a green colour. Is that to match the colour of the water?
It is, yeah. They're very popular. There's more probably on the Avon and the Severn. You see there?
Full of little holes, that's for the maggots to get out of.
Well, the maggots will come out of a hole smaller. Now, on this river, you know, we use casters a lot for barbel, and obviously they're dormant, you know, they don't move, so you need the assistance of the current and a little bigger hole. As you can see, that's quite a big hole there.
So you would put casters in that, and then the current would push the casters out through the hole, the bigger hole at the bottom.
That's right, yeah. If you can imagine that line upstream, if you can just hold that,
yes.
I'll hold that, you hold the bait.
There you go, I've got it.
You hold the bait. You know,
Just the bait, yeah.
If that's upstream, and there's casters trickling out, you can see that they'll go...
So that's down below like
that's
that,
right,
so
yeah.
that your casters are trickling out of that down towards this bait.
That's it.
Your fish come in
The
with...
fish follow upstream and pick it up, you see.
Yes.
Now, with the float, you've got to put your pouch of casters out there, and you've got to attain the same accuracy.
OK, well, show us how you do it.
Well...
We would use this swim feeder, because we've seen how you put...
What you do, obviously, you put something on the hook first. You know, this is more important with maggots and casters, because if you fill the feeder first and then put the maggot on the hook second, by the time you come to cast out, they've all gone. But with a caster, like I say, it's not quite so important, but it's a routine you have to get into, so you might as well do it the same with the caster.
That's right.
So first of all, we put one on the hook.
You just fish a single one on the hook?
Yeah, they're hard to catch today, like, so a single is probably the best at catching them. It's a bit with this rock here, we haven't got a rod rest, so we've got to use our hands to hold it.
You fill that up.
If you're using maggots, it's very important. With casters, it's not so important. Like I say, they're dormant, you see.
Have a little look. There you are. And that's full of maggots.
That's full of casters.
Can I see the holes?
Yeah, we've just enlarged a couple of them, Jack, because it's a dormant bait.
Because the casters, they come out at the bottom here. The current would hit there, swim through it and push the casters out to the bottom. That's basically how it works.
That's it,
Maggots, you wouldn't have that big hole. They would automatically find their way out of the little...
through the standard hole, yeah.
Standard holes. That's a very small swim feeder, though.
It is, yeah. It's not really suitable for this river, you know. It's more of an even, slower river.
You also got involved a little bit with the controversy by expressing this this feeling, your feelings.
Well, I think, you know, it's like any other sport angling. We've got to do it within certain rules. And when it's made too easy, and the challenge is gone.
That's right. I would agree with you there.
You see, now, if you get a downstream wind on this river today, it makes it very hard to fish with a float. But, I mean, the beauty of it is conquering that downstream wind. But with this thing, you see, you just cast it down. I mean, the downstream wind's the same as an upstream wind.
It's like just fishing with a ball and a worm and
That's
throwing it out and waiting.
That's true, yes.
Man, it's a pleasant way of fishing, that. Tom Sawyer way. You're fishing a bit different, Tony.
Yeah, I'm fishing a stick float, Jack.
See, you're fishing with a close-face reel and all.
That's right, yeah. It's, I find it's a much simpler reel to use for close-in fishing. You know, it's tangle-free. With the open-face reel, you've got an outside bail arm, as you know, which you've got to keep pushing over and back. You're liable to get tangles and that around it. With this one, you've just got this button in the middle. You just press it, and the line automatically gets released and hangs on your finger. And when you let your finger go, out comes the reel. And as soon as you turn the handle, the bail arm, which is just a small pin, actually, and I could take this off and show you, actually. It's the bail arm on this reel. So that's it, that small pin there.
The one on the top here?
That's it, yeah. Yeah, I just click the handle and he's out there, he is.
Comes
Then
out.
when I press the button, he clicks in and it releases the line.
It's a very simple reel and very easy one to use. I
It
imagine
is, yeah.
For a beginner, that would be an ideal sort of reel to use.
Yeah, it would be, really, yeah. It's quite a simple reel to use.
I noticed when you cast that where I would hold my line up on here to cast, you put your finger, you click it so that it's running free and leave your finger on so that the line lies alongside your finger.
That's right, yeah.
And then you cast. That's a good little way because I've never done it that way and it works very well.
It does, yeah. It's very efficient, you know, and there's no line down between your finger and the reel anyway to get tangled up. Everything's nice and neat.
Nice and neat and tidy, and you just...
Straightforward, yeah.
Click it, it's
just click it
tight.
and
Press it, leave your finger on, your line whips round on top of your finger, and then you cast.
That's correct, yeah.
Good, terrific.
Yeah.
Why are you using a different method? Is it because you're in the first third of the river?
Well, Kenny thought he'd try the waggler down the middle, which is, it's easier to fish about, you know, to fish the middle of the river. A waggler's a lot easier to use. You'd never fish this method down
the middle.
Down the middle. You know, up to about 3 rod lengths out, it's a good method. Then you start to struggle a bit then. And where you've got the different presentation as well, with this top and bottom float and bottom end only waggler, we just thought we'd see with, you know, the different species of fish we could catch today.
So tell me, Tony, the basic difference between the presentation of the bait with a waggler float and a stick float.
Yeah, well, with the waggler float, the bait, basically, it is the bait travels behind the float.
So that your
cast it out.
Your float would be up in the water and the bait would be going behind it down the current.
That's correct, yeah.
And with a stick float?
With a stick float, you fish double rubber. You know, as you know, wagglers fish bottom end only.
Double rubber means that you're fastened at the top
and bottom, yeah.
And the bottom there.
That's right.
And we fish down the current that way so that...
That's correct, yeah.
The float would be in the water and the bait would be in front of the...
That's correct, yeah. The bait would always be in front of the float. That's the idea.
So when you cast, the aim is to put your bait first and then pull it back into position and then let it go. Would you show us how you do that?
I'll show that now, yeah.
Not in your way here.
No, you're okay there.
Sit so that your bait...
Pull it back.
That's right.
Just keep it
let
under
it go.
control then. Follow it down with the rod.
And you've got a fish. Nice little roach, that one.
Yeah, lovely fish.
What do these run up to?
Well, the record is near £4. Ran about £4, which is exceptional.
which makes this one a small one by comparison, but
Yeah.
he's still a decent roach.
But actually, that's a nice fish. You do catch a lot of fish around the 2 to 4 ounce mark.
I'll put him off. I'll let him go before he gets into distress. There you go. Come on.
You know, a 2 pound roach is regarded as specimen size.
That's the, yeah. Nice, pretty little fish.
I'm going down where the fishes hang out, the pike and the perch, the salmon and trout. When I'm around, you better watch out. Here I come, here I come, here I come. Go fishing by yourself, go fishing. No one else, go fishing on your own, just you and them. Go fishing by yourself, go fishing. No one else, 'cause you wanna catch a big one, you really catch a big one, but even quite a small one could be quite a lot of fun.